Spike furrowed his brow as he led Velma, Roxy, Jolene, and Maleficent through the woods. He could sense that someone had triggered his defenses along the Sword and Heirs path in the Forbidden Forest, but he couldn't tell who it was. He could only hope that they were allies.
Are we close?
Roxy asked.
Where is this witch anyway?
Cottage should be nearby.
Maleficent replied.
It's been many years since I last visited her. But she's not the type to mirth.
I hate cottages.
Roxy grumbled.
They are like hobbit houses, all cut and quaint. They make me want to throw up.
You know I find them rather cozy.
Jolene commented. Roxy blushed.
I mean, they are not too durable,
she said bashfully. She was still afraid that Jolene harbored resentment towards her for failing to protect her as a child. Jolene, however, chose to ignore this comment and instead asked,
So where is the Stone of Volcari? I don't see it anywhere.
I have it here. No need to fret.
Maleficent replied, showing Jolene the stone.
All right.
Jolene said, her brow damp with sweat.
Let's get this over with, then. I want to go home.
The witch's cottage soon appeared through the trees. It was an ancient, weathered building, with an overactive chicken coop and a vegetable garden.
It looks like a cross between a hobbit house and a Muppet village,
Roxy muttered.
The Bat Witch is an old friend. So be nice.
Maleficent said.
She guards one of the shards of Excalibur. But she won't hand it over if you are rude to her.
That's the spirit.
Roxy cheered.
I take it back, old friend.
They walked up to the door of the cottage, which opened with a creak.
Good evening, friends.
The witch said, her green face breaking into a toothy grin.
Come in.
The group entered her home, and inside it seemed much nicer than it had on the outside. A young girl with pink hair was preparing lemonade as the boat witch ushered them in.
I saw you coming a mile away, and I couldn't be happy,
she said, her eyes darting about.
I've got some lovely lemonade, freshly made. What can I do for you?
We'd like to get the shard of Excalibur. Please.
Maleficent said, pointing to the back of the house.
Straight to the point. I see you. You always were terrible with niceties, Maleficent.
The witch said.
Come into the living room. I've got a nice glass of ice water with a lemon slice waiting for you. I imagine you're thirsty after your long journey.
I'm rather parched.
Jolene said, looking to Maleficent hopefully.
Then I shall refresh you.
The witch replied, pulling a glass bottle from the fridge and pouring the clear liquid into the crystal water.
There, now, much more pleasant, is it not?
It most certainly is,
Maleficent said, her voice dry and parched. Jolene and Roxy followed suit. Spike and Velma watched as the others drank the refreshing liquid. Spike recognized the girl pouring the drink from Ponyville, but he decided to say nothing.
Now, come with me,
the witch said, leading them into the living room. Inside they found a large wooden table, upon which sat a map and several small statues.
I followed your battle with the Nightmare Tyrant using this,
she said, gesturing to the table.
Magic figures, you see. I was really quite impressed. I didn't think you'd succeed.
I'm just glad you helped,
Maleficent said.
I'd be glad to help you more in the future,
the witch replied.
Returning Daphne's wand was a small matter. I'd held on to it just for her.
That's what I call hospitality.
Spike roared, smacking his lips. He decided to try the lemonade after all.
That's what I call a good drink.
Now then,
the witch said, tapping the table with her finger.
Let's find your Excalibur. Shall we? I think I know where it is. I really do.
She pointed to a small island on the eastern edge of the map.
Is that it?
Roxy asked, reading over Maleficent's shoulder.
It doesn't seem hard.
That island is quite small,
the witch said,
but the hilt of the sword should be there. If you gather all of the shards, placing them with the hilt and the stone of Volca should, well, I don't really know. But in theory, it should restore the blade to its true glory.
I'm impressed, old friend.
Spike cheered, clapping his hands together.
I am impressed.
I'd be more impressed if we actually had the thing.
Velma said.
Yes.
Spike said.
I suppose you're right.
So do we have a deal?
The witch asked.
We do.
Spike roared.
Now, I must warn you.
The witch continued.
I keep my promises. I give you my word as a lady. I will return all the shards of Excalibur. Should you return them to me once, your quest is complete.
I think that would be a problem.
Spike said.
Once the Nightmare Tyrant is gone for good, Fluttershy should have no use for the sword. There's one thing that troubles me, Thaw.
Oh, what's that?
The witch asked.
We're not actually going to go retrieve the shards, are we?
Velma said. Spike looked at her, his face grim.
Oh, you sensed the others, did you?
The witch asked.
Well, I didn't think of that. How unfortunate.
But you said we would.
Velma said, confused.
I don't know, but someone has already retrieved a few shards.
Spike said.
I could sense it when they entered the Forbidden Forest.
So,
Jolene asked, putting the shard in her pocket.
Can't we just beat them up and take them?
This shouldn't be necessary.
The Butt Witch said.
It's true that you're not the only group collecting the shards, but those others you sense are friends of yours.
Do you know who they are?
Spike asked.
I can guess.
The witch said.
Let me think for a moment.
Go Because we need to go.
Roxy said.
We don't have time to be. Pivine.
Crap.
Velma said, standing up.
I don't suppose you could speed things up.
Of course not.
The witch said.
I'm enjoying your company too much.
Then we better get going.
Spike said.
I'm afraid you'll have to go without me.
She continued.
I just don't know what I could do to help you. I suggest you not be too heavy on my wisdom, lest you be disappointed.
Like you failed to help us earlier.
I didn't fail to help you.
You didn't help us. You let us get beaten down by that nightmare torrent.
I did not.
Yes, you did.
Just because I didn't join you on the battlefield doesn't mean I didn't help.
Spike. The Butt Witch helped more than you now.
Maleficent said.
She probably did.
Spike said.
But just remember, no matter how much she helps, she's still just a stupid witch.
Indeed she is.
The witch cooed.
But she's a stupid witch who can get you what you need.
Yeah, whatever.
Spike said.
Let's go, Velma.
I'm here.
I really hope we're not returning these shards to some kind of evil witch doctor.
The Butt Witch looked to Maleficent with a grin.
These are quite the rude friends you brought with you, my dear.
I know, right.
Now, I do have a warning for you and your friends.
Yeah.
I don't like people who steal.
Oh, really?
Spike said. The witch glanced at Jolene. She gulped and then took the shard out from her pocket.
I thought you had noticed.
I did plan to give you the shard, but you shouldn't take what hasn't yet been offered.
The witch said, taking the shard from her.
Now, I'll return this to you, and then I'm afraid I'll have to ask you to leave this place. But I warn you, I'm not fond of being lied to. If you lie to me, I will find out, and I will make you regret it.
Oh, we won't.
Spike said.
We're just borrowing it.
I see. Well, if you change your mind, you know where to find me.
Do we really need to go through this rigmarole every time?
Spike asked.
I'm afraid so.
The witch said, grinning once more.
Then let's get going.
Maleficent said.
Yeah, we don't want to keep the nightmare tyrant waiting.
Indeed.
The witch said, smiling as the group exited her cottage. As they passed through the forest, Spike noticed something he had been meaning to ask.
What happened to your foot?
What?
Jolene asked, staring down at her foot.
Your foot?
Spike said, pointing.
You seem to have something wrapped around it.
Jolene reached down and felt around her ankle.
Oh, that's just. It's a little sore. I fell and sprained it, so I'm walking it off.
I thought you said you were a witch.
Spike said.
I'm not a witch, I'm a water adept.
Jolene explained.
So I can cast some minor spells to accelerate the healing of my minor injuries.
You can do that?
Spike asked.
How?
Just by thinking about it.
Jolene said.
It's like skipping a step in the process of healing.
So if I walk faster, it won't take as long to get to our destination.
Exactly, so walk faster.
That's cheating?
Spike said.
No.
Jolene said.
It's not. It's just magic.
Fine, cheater. Let's see you do some magic now.
Fine.
Jolene said.
Just don't get mad or anything when I curse your dreams, okay?
Jolene closed her eyes and went into deep thought. Spike began to wonder if she was thinking too hard, and perhaps that would cause her to trip up and ruin the whole process. Jolene took a deep breath, and then started chanting some kind of incantation. Spike watched in amazement as the ground around them began to liquefy. Within mere seconds, Jolene's foot was completely healed.
See,
Jolene asked.
it just takes a little effort.
I don't know how you do that.
Spike said.
That was amazing.
It's just a matter of practice.
Jolene said as she began to pick up her pace once again.
My father had all kinds of wizards, warlocks, and spellcasters teach me when I was young before.
Roxy winced, knowing Jolene was looking back at her lowest moment. The moment she betrayed Jolene's father, and ultimately allowed the Emerald City to fall. The moment she became the first Emerald Garden ever to become one of the Lost.
I am sorry.
Roxy said, not for the first time.
I didn't mean for any of that to happen.
It's not your fault.
Jolene said.
Not really.
I know, but I could have done something. I could have saved him. I could have saved us all.
You weren't strong enough to fight the Nightmare Tyrant.
Jolene said dismissively.
None of us were.
I'm different.
Roxy said.
I can do things. I wish I could have saved him.
Jolene sighed. She was tired of hearing Roxy apologize. She reached out and gave Roxy a hug. Roxy reciprocated, and the two began crying together.
Hey, hey.
I am sorry.
Roxy repeated.
I could have done more. I could have done a better job.
It's all right, my dear.
Jolene said.
It may not have been by your choice, but we are still here, and that's something, I suppose.
Yeah,
Roxy said, wiping her eyes.
it is.
The group walked in silence the rest of the way, each lost in their own thoughts. By the time they reached the shoreline, night had fallen, and the first stars had begun to appear in the sky.
Well, this is it.
Spike said. The island the witch had shown them glittered in the distance, shimmering on the water's surface.
Are you ready for this, girls?
More than ready.
Velma said.
Let's do it.
We're not going in the water yet, are we?
Roxy asked nervously.
I don't dwell in water.
And we don't have our suits.
Jolene added.
We'll need him.
Spike said. He looked to Maleficent, who nodded. She stepped forward, spreading her arms. Her staff glowed, and the stone of Volcar floated in front of her, suspended in the air. The water parted, creating a dry path from the shoreline to the island.
Let's find those shards.
She said. Without another word, the group began walking towards the island. Spike was leading this quest, with the fate of the world resting in his hands. No pressure. They reached the island, and Spike began to look around. He saw 2 paths off to the side, and what looked to be an abandoned camp at the opposite end. He chose the path nearest the abandoned camp, figuring the shards would be close by.
Are you sure this is the path?
Jolene asked.
Won't we get lost?
It's the only trail we're gonna find. Trust me.
Spike said.
Come on.
He began walking down the pathway. Maleficent matched his pace, followed by Velma, with Roxy and Jolene bringing up the rear.
What if we run into a mountain lion?
Velma asked nervously.
On an island.
Jolene asked.
Yeah, on an Iceland.
Velma said.
I think I saw 3 mountain lions in the Wizard of Oz.
You just relax.
Spike said.
This place is all magic. So the beasts of the island stay on the island. I've never seen a lion on this world, let alone on an island.
Velma sighed. She should have been unconvinced by this statement, but she wasn't, and she knew this.
I still don't like mountain lions.
Well, that's your problem. Not mine.
Spike said.
I thought you said this place was all magic.
Velma said.
Did I say that?
Will ye?
Well, must be a loophole or something. This land is magic, but so are we. And we're not lions.
What a load of baloney.
Jolene said.
Just because I'm an adept doesn't mean I'm immune to vicious, man-eating lions.
I'm just saying, we're not lions.
Spike repeated.
Yeah.
Jolene said.
Thank goodness for that.
They walked the rest of the way in silence.
Look.
Velma said after a few minutes.
It's the shards.
The group stopped in their tracks.
Well, do.
Spike looked where Velma was looking, just in time to see the reflection of the full moon in the water. The moon's reflection was over the eastern edge of the island, and the water looked like a path leading to it.
Come on.
Spike said, running down the pathway. The rest of the group caught up, and together they began running down the path. They were almost to the water's edge when 3 figures stepped out in the path before them.
That's Fawn!
The tallest of the figures said. She was a powerful woman with a fierce look on her face. She held a bow and a quiver of arrows at her side.
What do you want with the shards of Excalibur? The shards of... You... Shards...
To destroy the Nightmare Turret once and for all.
Spike said simply.
You have no idea what you're getting yourself into, do you?
The woman asked.
Well, if you think about it, we don't have much choice in the matter.
Spike said. He looked over at the other 2 figures standing behind the woman and saw they were his friends from the SSS.
I thought the SSS was out of the picture.
He said.
We're here to help
The SSS adept said.
and to give our life if necessary. Well, willing to give my life if necessary. He's right.
The first adept said.
We're not gonna let some demon or take over the world.
I guess that settles it.
Spike said.
We need your help, and we're not leaving this island without Excalibur shards.
Fine.
The woman said.
I'll get the shards for you.
Hey,
Velma said.
you're not gonna give us the easy part, are you?
What do you want the shards for? Anyway,
Spike asked.
What about you?
Replied the woman.
To form a sword, you couldn't handle one of those.
No, we've got an army of them.
Jolene said, tapping her forehead.
To smash Nightmare Turret.
Velma said.
Queen Fluttershy tasked us personally with the quest.
The woman turned to look at Queen Fluttershy's letter, hanging from a branch of tree on the cliffside.
Well, I still don't see why I'd be involved in this.
We don't know what it is exactly.
Velma said.
But maybe if you helped us, we could find out.
Maybe.
The woman said thoughtfully.
I'll go get the shards.
good.
Spike said.
Since you know the island, I'll let you 3 find the shards.
Well, I guess that settles everything.
The woman said. She turned and walked up the steps into the temple.
Let's go.
The SSS adept said. The group began running up the steps after the woman, who had already disappeared inside. So that's why I decided to leave things for this chapter, since I felt like we were going to another stage of the journey and I didn't want it to become too long. Next time though, we'll follow the group inside the temple that holds the shards and I guess the hilt, and we'll see where things go from there. And in case you missed the comment I left on the Christmas special, I've officially caught up on my backlog of episodes. This means I won't be able to reliably post every week like I did before, but instead I'll be posting new chapters the Friday after I finish editing one, whenever that happens to be. I do have a new side project though called This Anime Doesn't Exist, which I hope some of you will enjoy, that also uses AI like with Nightfall, but this time to create little synopses of anime that, well, don't exist. At any rate, I hope you all enjoyed this chapter. We're getting close to wrapping this arc up, I think, and I hope to see you all soon for the next one. In the meantime, if you missed the previous episode, here's a little clip of what you missed. Nora smiled.
I'll go with you, Louise.
She said.
I'll help you build your machines.
You will.
That's right. Like who?
Nora said.
But no funny business. This is strictly a matter of saving the world.
Of course.
Morbius said solemnly. They looked at each other again, and this time it was they who kissed.